Okay, I'm here. I'm ready. So
So,
how you doing? We talked a little bit before the radio show, and you told me a little bit about what you have going on with your advertising. We talked a little bit about YouTube, and do you have any questions, or you want some general insight around lead generation, digital marketing? Let's talk about those things.
yeah, well, let's also, before we get into that, let's share a little bit. We're based down in Houston and in Texas, but just kind of, you're in Philadelphia, I believe. So just give kind of like a 1 minute overview. What is the market like? What are you seeing up there in your market?
Yeah, so Philadelphia here in our market, we have a very interesting market because, and just like most markets across the nation within real estate, it's a seller's market. So sellers are getting, uh, top dollar for their houses. But more specifically, like my background is wholesaling. So more specifically, like I developed the skill of wholesaling and generating leads, the traditional way, door knocking and direct mail and stuff like that. But I got lost at some point and I was like, you know what, let me take this online. And so now I generate like a lot of my business online, but even more like here in Philadelphia, we have a very interesting county. In Philadelphia, we're like one of the first states that we're trying to, not one of the first states, but we're one of the first cities. We're trying here, our governor, our political powers, they're trying to make wholesaling illegal. So that's what we got that's what we got going on here in Philadelphia, and it's becoming very competitive because of that, and because they employ that this legislation against wholesaling. A lot of people are becoming licensed, so it's becoming even more competitive for you to get deals in this market. So that's what we're going through here in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah, that is a very interesting topic that is floating around nationwide because there's other areas of the country that are going through. They're trying to push the same thing, and so there's a lot of conversations going on about that. You did say one of the things you answered part of my question. I was going to ask, what are a couple of things that some wholesalers are doing to get around that? And you mentioned that they were, getting licensed. Are any of them shifting from, wholesaling into doing the long-term deals or anything of that nature?
Yeah, so any of them, I see some, and I can speak from my personal experience. Again, like I said, like a lot of my background came from wholesale, and when they rolled out, I decided to go get my real estate license before this even came up because you could kind of hear it, just like you're hearing in your market. You could hear them saying, well, they're going to outlaw wholesaling, or they're going to try to do some things to make you have a license. So I heard that, and I'm like, you know what? Let me get my real estate license because there are some benefits to it as well. I know some people think there are some liabilities, which they are. But I was like, you know what? The benefits outweighs the liabilities for me. So let me go and get my real estate license. Now, so I speak from personal experience and saying that I shifted. So as soon as I found out about that, I went to get my license. Now, when they rolled out the legislation, uh, it's very vague. It's still very vague. So they're saying that you have to have a license. Specifically in Philadelphia, you need to have what is called a wholesaler's license in order for you to do these wholesale deals. Well, a caveat to that is if you're already licensed as a real estate agent, you don't have to have that wholesaler's license, but it's still very vague. They still won't tell us exactly what that means. So for right now, if you are licensed, if you have a real estate license, you are allowed to wholesale in the Philadelphia area. But it's a fairly new law. It just rolled out, I believe, the beginning of this year, or yeah. I think it's the beginning of this year. So we're still flushing out like the details and we're still asking the, political powers, what exactly does it mean? So that's what I've seen from my personally. I shifted, and I see some other people too, but I know intimately that I shifted because I heard of that coming down the pipeline.
Yes. Okay. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and shift gears here. That was really great information. I appreciate you sharing that. Let's go in and let's jump into the lead generation because the fact of the matter is whether you're wholesaling or you're flipping or you're doing the long-term deals, you have to really become, especially in the beginning, you have to become an expert at lead generation. And one of the things that I typically tell people when they're first getting started or they're stuck or something, you know, try to find one, two, or three avenues of lead generation, whether it's Facebook ads, Google, YouTube, driving for dollars. Just find a few of those and drill down and become experts on that. And one of the things that I focus on a lot of is Facebook, running Facebook ads, and I'm also expanding into YouTube. I've done YouTube in the past where I've got a channel, I've got a bunch of videos up there, but I'm not utilizing it and monetizing it the way that it really can be. And so I'm leaving a lot on the table as far as that's concerned. But let's talk about Facebook ads first, because those can be a little tricky at times,
They can be,
right,
absolutely.
Jerome?
Yes, absolutely. And the thing about Facebook is a lot of people will say that it doesn't work, and it does work, but it depends on how we use those strategies. And I always like to compare Facebook to traditional marketing. But before I go there, I always say that every form of marketing works. You just have to be consistent and make sure you're doing it consistently. So, yes, I might not be the hugest fan of direct mail, but I understand that it works. Every marketing channel works as long as you're consistent with that marketing. So Facebook ads is it's very the reason why I like Facebook ads is because it's a fairly inexpensive game to get into, and just about anybody can do it if they set it up correctly. You can compete with some of these big companies if you get into Facebook ads and you structure it correctly. Another bonus that I really appreciate about Facebook is the fact that you can humanize yourself. And this is not specific to Facebook, but you can now use video marketing and a lot of this advertising. And a lot of us are not tapping into that video aspect of things. And I always like to compare it to, like, can you imagine having a phone call with a seller and you having to explain what it is that you're offering? Well, if you do video marketing, you can kind of knock a lot of that out. So that's my perspective on Facebook ads. And do you have like some questions, or you want some clarity around Facebook, some suggestions, some tips?
Yeah, let's throw out a couple of pointers. I do want to touch on one of the things you said. I want to reiterate that, and that was consistency, uh, especially when it comes to, in my opinion, especially when it comes to Facebook. But any type of marketing that you're doing, if you do it once or twice, like say direct mail, you mail out to a list, once or twice, and you move on to another list. You're not gonna. It's gonna be very hard to see a lot of success. But if you're, you know, you know, mailing to that same list, say like, once a week or every couple of weeks or a couple times a quarter, and you're consistently doing it, that's the main thing is consistency. One of the things that I've heard recently is when you're marketing to a potential seller or potential client in marketing in general, uh, the average number of touches that you have to have in order to have the ability to convert them, is on average about 17 times. And I remember just about 5 years ago, that number was as low as like 7 to 10 times.
Absolutely. And I've heard the exact same thing. So I'm also like a licensed real estate agent. And we talk about this stuff quite often, real estate, lead generation. And 17, I've heard that number change so many times. And I've seen it like different data sources have different information. 17 is a high number, but like you said, like a few years ago, it used to be between 7 and 8. Well, I've seen a study that said it takes up to 30 for some people to even do business. And then we have to consider us as real estate professionals. uh, we are used to dealing in the real estate space, like, but these customers, these prospects that we're dealing with, this is the biggest transaction of their lives. So they are not quick to jump on what it is that the services that we offer. This is a several $1,000, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. This asset is worth this amount of money. So these people need to be comfortable and they need to be nurtured into doing business with you.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things is they have to be able to know you, like you, and trust you, because that's who the majority of people do business with. There's exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, it's they like you, know you, and trust you in order to do business. Um, so let's go ahead and jump right into Facebook ads. Do you have anything specific that you wanted to share? Whether it's somebody who is new to the business or maybe they've been doing it for a little while, but they might be struggling a little bit in this tough market or strange market, I should say.
Yeah, in general, around Facebook, I typically like to suggest that people be consistent. And treat Facebook ads just like you would treat any other marketing channel. A lot of times people get into Facebook and they want to, maybe get a bunch of free business from Facebook by just sharing a post to their personal profile once in a while. And it doesn't work like that. I always like to say you have to treat Facebook as if it's a business because yes, it's a social media platform. However, it is also a marketing and advertising platform. And I want you to go in with the right mindset, understanding that you're going to market and that we spend money on marketing and that money doesn't always come back. So I get 50 leads. That doesn't mean I'm going to close 50 leads. However, since we're in real estate and it's a high ticket item, maybe of those 50 leads, I only need to close three to recover my marketing budget that I use on Facebook ads. So just because the ads or you getting some leads that are not converting immediately doesn't mean that Facebook ads doesn't work. You just have to be consistent and you have to employ the right strategies around Facebook advertising.
Yeah, and another thing to add to that is you have to consistently put out fresh ads. I actually went through this about probably about a month and a half ago. Just out of habit, had some other things going on, and just it kind of slipped through the cracks. And I ended up having the same video in front of the same audience for close to a month. And that last week, my personal digital marketer that does my marketing for me, uh, he noticed that the last week the number of views of the first 25% of the videos extremely dropped off. It was at like 30, 40, 50%, but it was only like 5 or 10% that last week that were maybe watching the first 10 seconds of it because it actually becomes stale and my audience became deaf to it because it was the same thing.
Absolutely. And to kind of sum that up and wrap that up in a package, it's called ad fatigue. So online, we're so used to consuming and seeing so much information that yeah, we have to change the advertising every once in a while. And marketing is as long as you're consistent, marketing works. The most active part of marketing online marketing is changing the advertising, trying to get people's attention. So you have two versions. We're going to talk about YouTube a little bit later, but you have two versions of advertising. You have what is called we call direct advertising when people are looking for a specific thing. When they have a problem and they're online searching like Google or YouTube, how do I tie a shoe? How do I sell my house? How do I buy a house? People are looking for those specifically and they convert a little bit better. However, that is more expensive. When you go over to Facebook, it is considered disruptive marketing. So within Facebook, we're trying to disrupt that user and get their attention. And sometimes we might get their attention early on, but they were not really interested in what it is that we're offering as urgently as the person that was doing the search-based marketing, where they're looking for that active pain point and they're trying to resolve it. So Facebook is more of a nurturing. You generate these leads and you have to nurture and walk them through a certain process. You have to let them know what their problem is, what their issue is. You take them through that, and by the time they come out at the end of it, they're ready to work with you and do business. It takes a little bit more nurturing, but it still works. It's still effective. In addition to that, it's much cheaper than the other forms of advertising.
Yes, it can be, especially if it's done right. I want to go ahead and pause right there. I want to give Hal a chance to speak, but first, Hal, really quick. I want to give out our website so that if you're looking for, where a place to register for our workshop that we've mentioned, we are having a workshop next Saturday. It's a $99 workshop on rehabbing, and there's going to be two aspects of it. The first half is going to be rehabbing from a contractor's perspective, and then the second half, and that'll be presented by Pat Reisinger, and then the second half will be presented by Ray Sasser, and he's going to talk about rehabbing from the investor perspective. So if you need a vendor or a contractor, or you want to register for that event, or reach us for any reason, our website is massivepassiveshow.com. Again, that's massivepassiveshow.com, and you can reach us for any reason. You have a question, you have a deal, or anything of that nature, that's where you can find us. And that website was actually built by Hal. So, Hal, tell us a little bit about your company. We've got about 30 seconds to a minute. So, give us an overview of what you do.
Yeah, no problem. I work for Bayou City Techs. We're pretty local to Houston, but we travel pretty much everywhere. We do on-site and remote IT consulting. Whether it's repairing a computer, doing upgrades, or networking, if we can figure it out, we'll do it. So, like your website, a website like that is a very important thing for anybody in business to have. And it's gotten to the point nowadays where, less than a day, you can go from the idea to a functioning website people can navigate to. It's an important part of any business and real estate just as much as any other.
Absolutely. And it's not about just having a website up. It's about having the right quality of website, the right functionality, and then also having the right person. And I can't tell how thank you enough for what he does for us here at Massive Passive. Can't tell you how many times I reached out to him and asked him to do something for us on our website, and he's literally doing it right there on the phone with me, or he'll do it, he'll get it done within that same day or within 24 hours. So he's very on top of his game, and that's the type of vendors and sponsors and contractors that we do business with is very reliable people that get stuff done, in a very timely manner. So Hal, we thank you for that. But let's go ahead and get back to the show. Jerome, did you have anything else to close out on as far as Facebook ads? And then after that, we can go into talking about some different things to do on YouTube.
Yeah, sure. The last thing I want to say about Facebook ads specifically is if you're doing Facebook ads, the point of social media is to be social and to kind of stand out. So what I encourage anybody that's doing Facebook ads to do is to implement video marketing into your Facebook ad strategy. Implement video marketing and don't be afraid to be on camera. It doesn't have to be super professional. You want to be personable. And if you're personable and you stand out compared to the other forms of marketing, we buy houses and things like that, when you're not generic like that, you will generate more trust and it'll generate you more business. So I deal with and I teach agents all of the time, and they're like, look, I'm afraid to be on camera. I'm afraid to do video. Don't be afraid to do video because it's going to help maximize your business. So get up if you're doing Facebook ads or any form of advertising, employ that video into your marketing strategy.
Yes, it comes with practice. I can speak from experience on that. Even though I've done hundreds of videos, for like YouTube and Facebook ads, things of that nature. I've done hundreds of videos, and even today, there's times that I have to take, 50 takes on a particular video, and it's like, come on, James, you know what you're talking about, get it together. But I just keep at it, and every time I do it, and I do a different type of video every time I see the improvement. And so it literally comes down to, just doing it. It is not going to be perfect on the first shot. Any type of marketing that you do, it's always about tweaking and improving, but you do need to get your name out there. That's the key. One last topic, and let's try to keep this topic to like a minute or two. But one of the things that I think is real important to bring up as far as Facebook and running Facebook ads, one of the things that I've noticed, and I don't know if you've seen it in your area, Jerome, but I've noticed that there's a lot more people moving more towards like a personal type name for their Facebook business page. For example, not to promote myself here, but my Facebook page is James the House Buyer. I very well could have put, I had another one that I was going to create, which was called, Hometown House Buyers, or even previously I was Houston House Flip. But I chose to go that personal route because I started to see a trend that people were moving more towards a personal, like whether it's James buys houses or Jerome buys houses, or anything like that. What is your take on doing something like that?
Yeah, my take is I've done the same thing, and at some point I was like, trying to hide behind a brand and logo too, and uh, I did some studying. I have mentors, marketing mentors, and stuff like that. And the personal approach has been working a lot better than that corporate approach. People just want to talk with people, especially on social media. And when I do presentations, I have like a slide, and like in that slide, I like to ask a question: what's the most important page on your website? And that most important page is the About Us page. And people want to know who it is that they're working with. They want to know who you are as a person, who is running that company. So people identify more with people. We identify with people because we're like people.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and change gears and let's move into the YouTube realm of things. What do you have? What can you give some people on YouTube? What
So
advice do you have there?
yeah, so my input on YouTube is very similar to what we're talking about with Facebook
Here's what
advertising.
you're gonna
And
get. You're gonna
YouTube is highly effective because it's video and people get to know, like, and trust you through video marketing. The thing that what's different about YouTube is people when they go to YouTube, they have more of an intent. They're looking for something more, a little bit more specific. So they're more likely to convert with you than like a Facebook ad. So YouTube is important. YouTube is important, and if you build that channel or you build your brand correctly, you can have a lot of success there as well. But YouTube is, you can't just throw stuff up as quickly as you do on YouTube as you do with Facebook, because when it comes to YouTube, you're competing with other professional YouTubers, and there's a lot that goes into it. Where SEO, which is search engine optimization, you have to gear your content, your advertising, you have to gear that stuff all around SEO and keyword research. So YouTube is highly effective and it's worth you investing in. You get better quality leads from YouTube. In addition to that, one more thing, Google, they own YouTube. So the more you do with Google, the more they will promote your product or whatever service that you're offering. So when people go, when you're searching for something specifically, a lot of times, to compare it to Facebook, when we get on Facebook, we go to Facebook to browse and say, hey, what's going on? I don't know. I'm just here to consume some content based on whatever shows up in my feed, and somebody's going to interrupt me. Well, with YouTube and Google, let's talk about Google. When you're searching for something specifically, so let's just say you were searching for a cool investment club in the Houston area, the Texas area. You would search for that in your Google search. And when you put that in your Google search, Google is going to give you a bunch of suggestions. And one of those suggestions is a video suggestion, and that comes directly from YouTube. And one more thing, people search Google and people search YouTube when they're looking for very specific things. So treat YouTube like a search engine, just like Google.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to reword one of the things you said, but yeah, that's true. When you do go to YouTube, I mean, I literally, as you were saying that, just realized that yeah, when I go to YouTube, I do the same thing. I'm searching for something specific. Normally, it's how to do something technology related because like we were talking this morning, I've said a couple of times when it comes to technology stuff, people have to talk to me like on a first grade level. So I rely on YouTube quite a bit for a lot of things. Um, and that does make a lot of sense that since it's owned by Google, that it works a lot like Google. Uh, Hal, you do quite a bit of stuff with Google and SEO and uh, YouTube as well. What are some things that you have to add into the conversation?
Well, one of the things that kept rattling around in my brain as he was talking is, especially with advertising, a lot of people, I mean, which avenues are the advertising dollars doing the best at? Is it directing somebody to a website with a form they fill out? Are you having people, see your phone number and call you directly? How are you getting the best results out of that advertising dollar?
Yeah, and that brings up another point too, another tip that another way that you could run your Facebook ads, bringing that back into the mix, is you can have ads that'll take them to uh, a landing page, or you can have a specific purpose. But one of those purposes also is just strictly for views, for video views. Because that's another touch. You get them in front of a video that they watch a certain amount, and that's all the ad was intended to do. and then hopefully that will send them they'll want to come back for more information, or you can use it, to retarget as well. Jerome, do they now? Basically, I just brought up retargeting. Uh, is there a way to utilize YouTube in the same sense as far as retargeting?
There is so yes, there is a way, and they have what is called networks. And when you're browsing these websites and you see like Google ads, you see their networks. Google and YouTube, they can retarget you that way. In addition to that, a lot of times, like I was doing a presentation and people are like, oh my God, how do they know so much information about me? Well, Google, they own a lot of companies, and one of the companies that they own is Android. So Android is it's a mobile device. It's the OS for mobile devices. So they know that you are searching for that thing specifically. These companies, they have a lot of data about us. So they know that, and they know that your device went out to that website, or your device was searching for that specific thing. So the next time you're doing something with YouTube or one of their networks, or even Facebook, because YouTube has a Facebook page and Facebook has a YouTube, they know to retarget you with that advertising.
Okay. Now, kind of a dumb question because again, I'm on first grade level here.
Mhm.
Um, are you able to run some ads like you do on Facebook? Are you able to run specific ads like that on YouTube as well?
Yes, and it's a little bit different with YouTube because you have to with Facebook, it's more interest based targeting. And when we're talking about real estate specifically, in Facebook, you can target people by demographic, you can target them by interest, and you can target them by their behavior. When you get into specifically to real estate, you're not allowed to target the demographics and the behavior anymore because they consider it discrimination. Now, when you go over to YouTube, you target people based upon what they are searching for or specific keywords. So it's not interest based targeting anymore. And I think wait a minute, I missed what's the question again?
About running specific ads
Oh,
on YouTube, kind of like you would on Facebook.
yeah, you can. Yeah, so yes, you can run specific ads on YouTube, and you can run ads based on people's search history as well as keywords. So that's how you would target on YouTube, and uh, you're not going to disrupt them like because most people they spend a lot of time strictly on Facebook, like browsing, and they get served a bunch of ads. But when you're on YouTube and you're interacting on YouTube, you watch a few videos, and you get that opportunity, one or two ads to target you that way. So you won't get as many ads on YouTube. However, they'll be more relevant and those leads will be of more quality.
Okay. Of the two, or let's just say of the three, the big three, Facebook ads, Google, and YouTube. In your opinion, for somebody that's just starting out, which one would be the least complicated, and which one would be the most complicated?
Yeah, so starting out, I always say go Facebook because it's the easiest and we're most familiar with Facebook. You get in there, you do some moving around, some basic stuff, but you can have an ad up and running in like no time. Now, Google and YouTube, they are very similar. So Google owns YouTube. So when you're trying to run a YouTube ad, you have to do it through Google Ads. And I would assume, let's see. So Facebook is the easiest. Then we got Google and YouTube, which are kind of under the same umbrella. Google would probably be the second easiest because you can run an ad and you don't have to create any extra media around that ad. So you can create a text-based ad around Google Ads and then you're off to the races. Well, with YouTube, you still do the same thing. So YouTube is the same thing, but you now have to add the media, which is a video to it. And people doing video, they get it, they get scared and it becomes complicated. So in that order, Facebook is the easiest, and those leads are a bit cheaper. Then Google is the second easiest because you can create a ad based off just text, and you don't really have to create any media for that ad. And then YouTube is the third most difficult because now you have to create media. You still do the same thing with YouTube, but now you have to create media around it, and you have to give them video, and people get scared and complicate video.
Okay, one last question, and we'll close out this segment. I do definitely appreciate your time here. A lot of great information uh, presented here. So again, thank you for that. But on average, when somebody's shooting a YouTube video, what should be a good length of a video to have on YouTube?
I would say, so when it comes to advertising, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get someone's attention. And people ask me this question all the time: how long should the videos be? And I always encourage them to, hey, go to YouTube or whichever platform you're wondering about how long the video should be. Go there and check out the different lengths of the video. And you're going to see a host of different, you're going to see 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. So the length, it varies. However, when we're talking about specifically advertising and we're trying to get a message out, there is no hard and fast rule. However, the shorter the video can be, the better. So there is no number. I would say if I need to tell someone how to sell their house to me on terms, for an example, that might take 5 minutes, and it might be no way for me to cut it down to 3 minutes. So the videos need to be they need to be as long as they need to be. However, you don't want to put anything extra in there. You want to get your message out as soon as possible. So there's no hard number. However, you want it to be as short as possible.
Yes, short, to the point, and attention grabbing. Because I believe, just like we were talking about average number of touches to a potential seller or client, is constantly changing. Well, the same thing with, the attention grabbing, because everybody's attention span is always changing as well. What is it? Is it like you got to catch their attention within the first like 5 or 7 seconds or something like that?
Yeah, it is. It varies, and different people say different things. You got some people that say 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and 7 seconds. On YouTube, I would say it is 5 seconds because that is the time they give you to skip an ad. So when you're on YouTube and you're browsing, you get served the advertisement, and a lot of times you can skip that ad within 5 seconds. So if you grab that prospect's attention in 5 seconds, that's good enough.
Yes. Well, Jerome, I appreciate it. Again, we will definitely be in contact within our Facebook group, because you also have a Facebook group as well. So maybe there's something we can do as far as, exchanging time in front of each other and go from there. But again, Jerome, this was a lot of great information. I hope our listeners got a lot out of it. If you have any specific questions, guys, if you're listening, guys and gals, reach out to naturalpastorshow.com and send us an email, and we'll definitely get some questions answered, or maybe we should put together something. We'll invite you to it where we talk more about this stuff. You got any closing statements, Jerome?
Yeah, thank you, James, Hal, and Ray. I appreciate you having me on. And I did, like I told you, James, I was going to try to get this over to YouTube. I'll send you the link. I know some people were interested in what I was talking about specifically. I did have some visuals. I got the website in there. I'll send the link, and you can share that accordingly. But again, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to us doing some stuff together in the very near future.
All right, cool. Jerome, thank you again, and you have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. All right. Claudia, how we doing?
We're doing good.
That's good.
Very good.